Hello guys, this video is the first video in the series about React Native library from Facebook, which is devoted to building mobile applications with React. This library is completely new for me, so if you feel that I tell something wrong or maybe give you some incomplete information, please don't hesitate to correct me and write some comments. Today we're gonna do two things. First of all, we will discuss role of React Native in the mobile development world, and the second very important thing, we will learn how to correctly install and launch React Native application. So first of all, just proceed to the website of React Native. That's a Facebook, GitHub.io and React Native. You can find this website very easily in Google by typing just React Native, and from that we can see the start page of this library. As we can see now, currently at this day of recording, that's the 21st January 2017. We have a version 0.4 of React Native, and this one which we will basically use throughout our course. But I would like to start from the article written in August 2016, and updated basically in 2017, which is called React Native versus Ionic, a side-by-side comparison. Why? Because these two technologies, these two frameworks, basically represent two main streams of development mobile applications, not including native mobile applications. So if we just want to dive into world of development of mobile applications, basically for now we have three main streams, three main opportunities. First one is to develop completely native application. So if you want to develop for Android, you need to learn Java, you need to learn Android Sdk, and then you can develop completely native application which will use native components and will give you completely full possibilities about this platform. If you want to develop something for iOS, then you need to learn Swift, most probably, or if you are really old school, you can learn Objective-C still, but most probably that will be Swift. And you need to, first of all, you need to have Mac computer, and you need to learn Xcode development environment, and then you can develop iOS mobile application. But what to do if you want to develop one code base which will be shared across these two main, for now at least, mobile platforms? Then you have two approaches. First approach is represented by Ionic Framework, and Ionic Framework is the so-called hybrid mobile development. The whole idea is that you write basically web application and then wrap it into some native wrapper, and this native wrapper knows how to correctly work with native components, but basically inside of this native wrapper you still run web application. So you are using C# and not C#, excuse me, HTML, you are using CSS and JavaScript, exactly as you would be writing web application, but it will just run inside of native web component. That would be, for example, web view in Android, and this framework like Ionic, for example, pretends to simulate as good as possible native environment, native components. Another way is to write using, for example, React Native. This is our main hero of this course. Whole idea of React Native is that you write application using JavaScript, and as you will see, everything in React Native is the JavaScript, even if sometimes it will look like HTML, but it's not. It will be still JavaScript. And then in the core of the React Native, you have bridges between JavaScript component and native component. So the team behind React Native developed some components, yeah, and behind of every component there is some bridge, and each component knows how to be rendered using this magic, using this bridge into native components. So if you are using React Native, at the end you receive completely native application, which is created by transpiling, or so to say, of JavaScript components into native components. Here's of course the big weakness of this platform, is that unless you have this bridge, you cannot map your component to the native component. That's why I believe that always will be this gap between native development, which develops very fast, and React Native. But let's see, because they created already lots of components, and the community also creates a lot of components, so most probably everything what you need is already there. But let's quickly proceed through this article and see what's the difference. So first of all, as I said, we have this battle of hybrid versus native applications, and yeah, as said, hybrid applications is web code running inside of native container, and there is always this question: should you go native or should you go hybrid? Depending, and the answer is usually depends on many parameters, depending on what you want. But hybrid applications are always criticized for their speed and not really native look and feel. Again, all these technologies, as Ionic and React Native, they tend to be so-called write once, run everywhere applications. So for Ionic is easy, you just run one web application, and inside CSS decides how to show your component, yeah, depending on which platform you are. For React Native, you need to use components which as closely resemble native components as possible. So if, for example, in iOS there is some component which is specific for iOS, then you will need to write separate versions of your components, yeah, one for Android, one for iOS, using different JavaScript building blocks. So for language, in Ionic you use HTML, you use CSS, JavaScript. In React Native, everything is basically JavaScript, even though sometimes it looks like HTML, but it's not. In reality, it is JSX, it's JavaScript XML, it's extension for JavaScript. We will see that later. And okay, if you want, you can proceed through this article and read about it. But basically, React Native and Ionic are both very popular platforms, and I believe that in future we will look into both of them. But now our hero is React Native. So let's return back. Since now we understand basic idea about React Native, yeah, is to write JavaScript components which, using some programming bridges, will be relinked into native components. Let's proceed into correct installation, because that can be tricky. I am now running on Windows machine, so I have no way of building iOS application, unless of course I use some hosted in the cloud Mac machine, but I will not. So everything what I will write will be about Android. If I will read somewhere or will know about some specifics of iOS, I will tell you, but today we will install React Native for Android. And this support for Android only appeared recently, because initially React Native supported only iOS. Okay, so let's proceed to the docs, and I believe that very first article will be getting started. So, and we will choose that we want to be on Android, on Windows. So what are you doing? First of all, you need to install Node.js. Okay, you search in Google for Node.js and install it. Okay, just proceed to that link and please install it first. Yeah, you click download. On the just download this stable version. I mean, if you want, you can download current, but I believe it's always better to download stable version and install it. So second, what you need to install is a Python, and be aware that you need Python 2. So we all know that there is Python 3, which is considered kind of better, but React Native uses Python 2. So proceed to the Python website and download latest Python 2 version and install it. So that will be 2.7, okay, 13, so something like that. Somehow doesn't want to open it, but okay, basically you know, yeah, that you need to go to python.org and download latest Python 2 version. So what then you do? Then you install React Native CLI. You go to, after you install it, Node.js, you have now access to npm Node Package Manager. So basically you open your command prompt and you type npm install -g to install it globally. Then you type React Native CLI. Okay, you click OK, and then all dependencies for React Native CLI will be installed. Okay, let's don't wait for it till install. So what you do next? Then you need to install Android development environment. Basically everything what you need is Android SDK and Android emulator, yeah, Android virtual device. But of course, theoretically you can install them just only these tools, SDK and AVD, but it's better to download and install Android Studio, because then you will get everything in package plus Android Studio, and it will correctly install all dependencies. So you go to that link to Android developer.android.com and you download latest version of Android Studio, and automatically you will get installed Android SDK and AVD. In order to work with Android, you need to install latest version of Java SDK. Okay, so you go to that link, and then you choose basically you install Java version 8, some latest version. Let's click OK, like that. Then you select this accept license. Okay, then you select the Windows 64 and download this installer and install it. Okay, and afterwards, so first install this Java kit, and then Java JDK, and then you install Android afterwards, because if you will do it different way, link in Android Studio will be set up incorrectly, can be, so then you will need to fix it manually. That's why install Android Studio. So then when you installing Android Studio, as it says here, make this custom installation and select to install Android SDK platform, and this is important, is to install Intel HAXM and Android virtual devices. Okay, so just follow this procedure. If you installed without that, didn't see, then you can always open Android SDK. Okay, I can even open it manually. I know that by default SDK will be installed into C users and then your username. then update the local Android SDK, and here you can open always SDK manager, and then you can always click this what it wants, SDK platform, Android virtual device. So here you just select what it says, and important is that for now we need to install also Android 6.0. So for now React Native works with version of API 23. So you need SDK platform, you need, okay, but this I believe instruction will be later, yeah, as it says, install Android 6, Marshmallow SDK. Okay, exactly as it says here. So you need Google API and all these four. Basically you select SDK, you select that Intel x86 Atom, and this one exactly that wants from us. Okay, and yeah, you need by default this build tools, you can update it. So okay, I might also update it. So basically install all dependencies as it says. Okay, so what, maybe something else. Yeah, and this extras. Basically you just following these instructions, and this is all good and as it wants. And then comes tricky part. You need to install that environment variables. Yeah, first of all you need to have environment variable called Android Home. So how you do it? You just type in your search environment and open either system environment, so environment variables, whatever, to open system properties. Then you click this environment variables, and here you need to create new variable. You give it name and value, and so you give it name of Android Home, and you give it a path to your SDK. Okay, and as it said, by default it will be C users, then your username, update a local Android SDK. So you copy this link, okay, and you put it to this variable. So what's another important thing? You need to have a path, you need to have a variable, just check that it's here, called Java Home. And there you give it a path to your installed GDK which you installed. Okay, by default it will be C, program files, Java, GDK, and for me it's 1.8.005. Okay, this is what should be there basically by default, but just check that it's there after installation of GDK. This is all good, but basically that's not enough. It's not enough. What is not given in this tutorial is that you need to have a variable called path, and I believe it will be already there. Question is only that just check, click edit, and you need to have the path to the platform tools. So basically it's exactly the same folder, but inside it has platform tools. Okay, and then you copy this path to Android, your SDK, and then platform tools, and then you put it into this list. If you will not do that, it will not work. And this basically small thing which completely irritated me for a long time, until I found solution in another tutorial. So then what you are doing, then you need some Android virtual device. Okay, you can open your AVD manager, you can open it manually or from Android Studio, or you can go to this SDK folder which you have already, and then you can just open this AVD manager by manually opening it, or you can open any Android Studio, any project, or create empty one and open from there, doesn't matter. But most important that it should be opened, and you need to create some Android virtual device. So if I believe that by default it creates already one virtual device for Nexus 5, but if it is not the case for you, you go to the device definition, just select some good size like Nexus 5, which is about 5 inches, of size, and then you click this create AVD. Okay, select some parameters and click OK, and then you will have Android virtual device like that. Yeah. Then what you need to do, you need to start it. So once it's there, you need to click the start. It might look differently, but just click start. And very first time, most probably, it will give you here this exception saying that you need to stop your Hyper-V. So it might give you this exception that you need to stop your Hyper-V, and it will be some command which you need to execute on your command prompt. Just execute it, then reboot your PC, and then you will be able to start. Okay, so now we have our Android emulator for Nexus 5 started. Good. Then, so let's now proceed. Now it's this moment of truth. If we can, so now we see that the Android native library was installed, lots of dependencies, but for me it was already installed, so it just updated something. Yeah. So then you go to the folder which you where you will create your project, and you go to, I already forgot which folder I want, but okay, React Native. And there you type following. You type React Native, yeah, init, and then name of your application. So let's just create first app. Okay, then you click, and it will create a project and download all dependencies. I already did it, so for me I have this folder, first app, just to save our time. I will not click it. Okay, so now we but for you it will download everything. Now I already have it, and I have it opened in my web store. Yeah, here is that very basic application. And now comes moment of truth. So now we need to come inside of that folder after it's created, cd to this first app, and then we type following: React Native, and then you type run Android. And now let's see if everything's stopped correctly. Yes, no, maybe from first time it will not work because installation of React Native might be really tricky. So then you click run, and let's see what happens. So it will open another window called React Packager, which will package your JavaScript, and then here in parallel it will build the package. Let's open our emulator. It will build, it will make this, as I said, bridges between your JavaScript components and native Android components. We'll build APK file for Android and install it to the emulator. Okay, and now we see that what we see, and now we see that our application runs. How do we understand that this is our application? Let's open our project, yeah, default project, and we see here some very strange output which looks like HTML, but this we will talk about later, which says like welcome to React Native, to get started, blah blah blah. So if we open our emulator, we see this exactly welcome to React Native, to get started, blah blah blah. So exactly what we want. So it looks like this is our application. Yes. So then let's read what it says. It says double tap button R on your keyboard to reload, shake or press menu button for dev menu. So it looks like if we click double R, and basically for me it doesn't work. maybe I need to update everything, but doesn't matter because there is another option, shake or press menu button for dev menu. So basically if you see here, you don't see any menu button, there is no menu button. So just let's memorize that there is a key combination, Ctrl M if you click it. Ctrl M I said. Okay guys, after half an hour of fighting with that beast with the name Android Simulator and reading through the Stack Overflow how to open this freaking rage menu, basically I didn't manage to do that, frankly speaking, because yesterday it worked. I have to only click Ctrl M, so just Ctrl M, and you will have that menu, development menu, or just as people say here, you can click that F2 button or page up, and this should open menu, but none of this works for me. So only one guy wrote here that you can write some shell script, and for now for me there's only one way, yeah, something like that, to show you how this menu will look. I will try to sort this out, this issue, for the next video, but you know that you need to click Ctrl M, and this will show you this menu, and then you can click this reload if you want to completely reload it. So for example, if you will go back to our code and we'll write like to get started, okay, welcome to React Native, our first app, okay, and then we just turn back. Okay, then I will make this trick with this small shell, but you will click Ctrl M and click this reload, okay, and then you see this our first app. So basically, and here let's also try another thing, enable live reload. This is interesting, let's try. So this, now I expect that if I update something, let's like that, yeah, you see it will update automatically. So that's good thing. Let's just activate it. You know, you can need to click Ctrl M, or okay, let me execute a small shell again and click this. Here will be this enable live reload, yeah, and then every time when you update something, yeah, you save, and it's automatically okay, let's click it again. So plus plus plus, now minus minus minus, and it's reload automatically. So that's fine. So guys, what we accomplished today, we understood what's React Native. Maybe we don't understand how it works and so on, but at least we see its place in the ecosystem, and we hopefully everybody from you was able to install it into your machine. So next time we will start checking the default template, start to understand what means all these imports and what's that, basically is the HTML or what's that, and how it's working. And thank you for coming, thank you for watching, see you in the next video, bye bye.